The fact that a man was late because his bus was late, he missed a train connection, or it wasn't his fault that he was late. That didn't make any difference at all to Sink. The fact that you were late.
If there was a movie about your life, would you want to be in it? Comment 1 if yes, and 2 if no. Now, let's talk about Dick Winters' choice. Despite being the central character in Band of Brothers, he walked off the set and never returned. Why would a great soldier like Winters not want to be in a movie that recreates his life? Was he unhappy with how Hollywood told his story, or was there a deeper reason? Let's explore the truth behind this decision in today's video. Who is Dick Winter? Richard Davis Dick Winters was born on January 21st, 1918, in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, but grew up in Lancaster. As the only son in the family, Winters was known for his discipline. Initially, Winters had no intention of pursuing a long-term military career, but with the world situation becoming increasingly tense, he enlisted in August 1941, just a month after graduating, and began his training at Camp Croft, South Carolina. Eager to challenge himself, Winters volunteered to join the paratroopers, one of the most elite units in the U.S. military at the time. He was assigned to the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, a unit based at Camp Toccoa, Georgia, which was known for its rigorous training regimen. It was there that Winters met Lewis Nixon, who would become his closest friend. Under the guidance of Colonel Robert Sink, Winters quickly demonstrated his outstanding leadership abilities. He passed his tests with near-perfect scores and became one of the most highly regarded officers in the training course. Nicknamed the Man of Discipline, Winters not only stood out physically, but also won the trust of his superiors for his calmness, sharp tactics, and ability to inspire his soldiers. After graduating from parachute training at Fort Benning, Georgia, Winters officially joined Company E, Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 506th Infantry, 101st Airborne Division, and was commissioned as a lieutenant under Captain Herbert Sobel. Winters participated in Operation Overlord on June 6, 1944 D-Day, when the 101st Airborne Division was dropped behind German lines in Normandy. Although scattered upon landing, he quickly rallied his men and led an attack at Brécourt Manor, destroying German artillery pieces that were shelling Allied troops at Utah Beach. The operation is considered one of the greatest tactical battles fought by American paratroopers and is often taught in military academies. After Normandy, Winters went on to lead Easy Company in Operation Market Garden, the largest airborne landing in history, which took place in September 1944. Although the operation failed due to strong German resistance, Winters and his men accomplished their mission and avoided major casualties. In December 1944, when the Germans launched the Battle of the Bulge, Winters became the commander of the 2nd Battalion. In the cold of 30 degrees and in a state of shortage of food and troops, Easy Company held out at Bastogne until reinforcements arrived. For his great contributions to the war, Dick Winters received many prestigious medals, including Distinguished Service Cross. Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest military award in the United States. Bronze Star 2 times. Bronze Star Medal for bravery in combat. Purple Heart, Purple Medal for those wounded on the battlefield. And Croix de Guerre, France. Medal of Merit, awarded by the French government. After the war, Dick Winters was not only respected by his comrades, but also became a symbol of courage and responsibility in the U.S. military. Band of Brothers? What role did Dick Winters play in the making of Band of Brothers? Was he simply an inspiration, or was he a direct consultant on the film? And why did Winters, who has always shied away from the limelight, agree to support this project? Let's explore the special relationship between Dick Winters and the film that etched his name into history. After World War II, many stories about the 101st Airborne Division, especially Easy Company, were written, but it was not until historian Stephen E. Ambrose published his 1992 book, Band of Brothers, that the story of these brave soldiers was truly and truly recreated. Ambrose's book relied on hundreds of interviews with veterans, including Dick Winters, to recreate the journey from the arduous training days at Camp Toccoa to the fierce battles at Normandy, Bastogne, and finally the liberation of Europe. Winters, when reading the first draft, was very pleased with the way Ambrose told the story of Easy Company. After the great success of the film Saving Private Ryan, 1998, director Steven Spielberg and actor Tom Hanks wanted to continue to exploit the theme of World War II, but this time focusing on a real group of soldiers instead of a fictional story. They decided to turn Band of Brothers into a 10-episode television series with a huge budget of up to $125 million USD, a record number for a television series at that time. From the very first stages of the project, Dick Winters was invited by the producer to participate as a military advisor, along with many other veterans of Easy Company. Initially, he was quite hesitant because he did not want to be dragged into the halo of Hollywood. Winters always considered himself a normal soldier, a person who fulfilled his duty to the country, not a character to be praised or commercialized. However, after talking with Tom Hanks and some producers, Winters agreed to contribute his ideas to ensure the film accurately recreated what happened on the battlefield. He and other veterans attended many meetings with the screenwriter, director, and actors to provide detailed information about the life of a paratrooper during World War II. During the casting process, the production team was very careful in finding someone to play Dick Winters, the central character of the film. After many rounds of casting, the role was given to British actor Damian Lewis, a surprising choice because Winters was an American officer while Lewis had no experience playing a soldier. To prepare for the role, Lewis attended a 10-day military training course with other actors to experience the feeling of a real paratrooper. During that time, he also spent a lot of time meeting and talking with Winters. The two had in-depth discussions, during which Lewis listened to Winters' stories about war, leadership, and camaraderie. Lewis later recalled that when he first met Winters, he only said one short but meaningful sentence: "Make sure you get it right." This is not a compliment or a criticism, but a simple message that clearly shows Winters' character, a person who always values accuracy, responsibility, and honesty. In addition to Damian Lewis, other actors in Band of Brothers also had the opportunity to meet veterans to better understand the characters they were about to play. One of the most emotional moments was when the entire cast was invited to attend a special meeting with Winters and the surviving members of Easy Company. At this event, Winters did not talk much about the war, but instead talked about the lessons he learned from that time. He emphasized that the most important thing was not the battles, but the brotherhood between soldiers. Winters' words had a strong impact on the cast. They understood that Band of Brothers was not just a war film, but also a story about loyalty, sacrifice, and camaraderie, values that Winters lived and fought for. This was supposed to be an impressive and successful film with strong potential, but Winters chose to leave the set. What is the reason here? How do you think about yourself and everyone else being able to look back on your life and achievements? Reasons for leaving the set. Dick Winters was a soldier, a dedicated commander, but above all, he was a humble man who always held on to his values. Despite having contributed to advising Band of Brothers, one of the best World War II films ever made, Winters decided to stay away from the set and not be involved much in the promotion or events related to the film. Many people wonder, why would someone who is portrayed as a hero not want to be in the limelight? The answer lies in Winters' personality, how he views war, and his views on fame. Below are the main reasons why he decided not to stick with the film. For many, war is history, a story that needs to be told. But for Winters, war is a memory, a painful experience that he and his comrades had to endure. Although Band of Brothers tries to stick to the truth as much as possible, Winters still has a concern. War is not something to be glorified. In a rare interview, he once said, "If you have never experienced it, you will never understand. And if you have lived it, you will never want to talk about it again." Winters understands that the film can convey courage and team spirit, but he also fears that what the audience sees on screen is only a small part of the truth. The film can recreate bombs and battle scenes, but it cannot convey the feeling of losing a close friend, cannot recreate the fear of being ambushed in the dark or the harshness of living in cold and hunger. One of the biggest reasons Winters didn't want to commit to the film long-term was the Hollywoodization of war. He feared that, no matter how realistic it was, war would become a form of entertainment. People who had never experienced the battlefield could watch the action scenes and the bloody battles and think that was the greatness of war, when in reality, there was nothing great about witnessing the deaths of young soldiers who should have had their whole lives ahead of them. After the war, many veterans chose to write memoirs, participate in interviews, or even appear on television to tell their stories. But Winters was not that type of person. He chose to live a quiet life in Hershey, Pennsylvania, away from the limelight and public attention. When asked to participate in promotional events for Band of Brothers, Winters politely declined. He also rarely appeared in the media, and even after his book Beyond Band of Brothers was published in 2006, he still rarely participated in autograph sessions or interviews. In a letter to a close friend, he wrote, "I never thought of myself as special. I simply did my job, like all the other soldiers." Winters did not like to be called a hero. When someone mentioned his exploits, he always emphasized, "It is not me who deserves the honor, but the comrades who never came back." When he received the Distinguished Service Cross, one of the highest military honors, he did not hold any grand ceremony. When asked how he felt about the award, he simply said, "The only thing I wanted was not the medal, but to be able to bring all my comrades home." That is the kind of person Dick Winters is, a man who does not seek fame or recognition, but only wishes to live a simple life away from the limelight. Another reason Winters kept his distance from the film was because he didn't want to be identified with the character played by Damian Lewis. There's no denying that Damian Lewis did a great job playing Winters. Many people immediately associate Winters with Lewis's image in the film, but Winters himself feels that no one can truly understand him through just one film. In a conversation with another veteran, Winters once said, "Damian Lewis is a great actor, but he's not me." He didn't say this because he was unhappy with the way Lewis played him, but because he didn't want his image to be tied to a role on screen. The most obvious example of the difference between Winters in real life and his character in the film is the way he expresses emotions. In Band of Brothers, Winters is portrayed as a tough leader, but still has moments of clear emotion. However, those who served under Winters described him as a man of almost cool composure in battle. Take the battle at Brecourt Manor, one of Easy Company's most famous battles. While most officers would have panicked under overwhelming German fire, Winters calmly organized his troops, assigned tasks, and personally led the charge. His men reported that they never saw Winters show fear or panic, even in the most dangerous situations. After completing his role as a consultant for Band of Brothers, Winters gradually withdrew from the project. He did not attend the film's premiere, did not sign a promotional contract, and did not even receive a single penny of the film's profits. When asked why, he simply said, "I've lived it, I don't need to see it again." This statement clearly shows his point of view. For Winters, war is not a film or a story to be told, but a painful part of the past that he does not want to mention many times. Family. Another reason is family. What do you think? Do you love your family? When Band of Brothers aired in 2001, Dick Winters was 83 years old. At this age, he was no longer the young officer who led Easy Company across the battlefields of Europe. Instead, he was an older man who had lived a long life of ups and downs. War took away many soldiers' youth, their dreams, and sometimes their families. But for Dick Winters, after the guns stopped ringing, the most important thing he wanted to spend the rest of his life with was love and connection with his family. After World War II ended, Winters returned to the United States with the desire to start a new life, away from the loss and chaos that war left behind. Although he was invited to speak in many places, join the army for a long time, or even pursue a political career, Winters chose a different path, a simple, warm life with his family. In 1948, he married Ethel Winters, the woman who became his peaceful haven after years of fierce fighting. Ethel was not only Winters' life partner, but also the person who always stood by him in every important stage of his life. The two decided to settle down on a quiet farm in Hershey, Pennsylvania, far from the noise of the outside world. Winters did not want to live in the spotlight of fame or become a media icon, but simply a devoted husband, father, and a simple man living his own life. Winters always held the view that a good soldier must not only know how to hold a gun, but also know how to protect important values in life. And for him, that was family. In many conversations with friends, he emphasized that if he had fought for his comrades and his country before, now he wanted to spend the rest of his life fighting for his loved ones, with love and care. Winters did not care about fame or attractive invitations from military organizations or the media. He did not participate in many veteran events and did not write books about himself until he received many words of encouragement from friends. He just wanted to have a simple life, doing the things that a normal man loved. One of the emotional letters that Winters once sent to a friend clearly expressed his philosophy of life. "I had stressful years, spent my youth fighting and living for others. Now, I just want to spend the rest of my life with my loved ones." This saying not only expresses the feelings of a soldier after the war, but also reflects Winters' profound philosophy of life. Greatness does not lie on the battlefield, but in the way we live and love those around us. After Band of Brothers was released and became a global phenomenon, many people sought Winters out to interview, write books, and make documentaries about him. But Winters refused almost all invitations because he did not want his family life to be disrupted. Winters once shared with a friend, "I did not fight to become famous. I fought for my comrades, for my homeland. Now, I just want to live a simple life, no longer bothered by unimportant things." For Winters, having a peaceful life with his family is more important than any title or glory. He didn't need articles praising him, interviews, or grand events. All he needed were warm meals with his family, leisurely days on the farm, and peace of mind. Many veterans after the war fell into depression, haunted by memories of the battlefield or unable to adapt to normal life. But Winters did what many soldiers wished for, found peace after the war. The family was where Winters found joy, comfort, and motivation in his final years. And perhaps, for someone who had witnessed so much loss, nothing was more precious than living peacefully with the people he loved. After the resounding success of Band of Brothers, many newspapers, television channels, and filmmakers continuously contacted Winters to invite him to participate in interviews, appear at events honoring veterans, or even write books about his life. HBO and History Channel, two major television channels, repeatedly invited him to participate in exclusive interviews to share more about his experiences during the war. But Winters refused all of them because he did not want to be caught up in the media vortex. Major newspapers such as the New York Times and the Washington Post also tried to contact them, to do in-depth articles about Winters, but he kept a humble attitude and did not want to become the center of the story. He limited his response to fan letters, although he still appreciated the affection they had for him. He once told a friend, "I've always been grateful to those who admired me, but I didn't do what I did for fame. I just did what needed to be done at the time." Although he was considered a hero by many generations, Winters never wanted to accept that title. He always believed that what he did during the war was just the responsibility of a soldier, and he did not want to be honored or become a media icon. In the past, Winters always kept in touch with his old comrades in Easy Company, who had gone through life and death moments with him on the battlefield. Veterans reunions were an opportunity for them to reminisce, visit each other, and remember their fallen comrades. However, after 2001, Winters gradually disappeared from these events. He no longer appeared at Easy Company meetings, despite having been one of the first to organize them. Some former comrades asked why, but Winters simply said, "It's time for me to step back and let the next generation continue the story." Not because he forgot his comrades, but because he felt he had fulfilled his mission. He wanted to put the past to rest so that memories of war would no longer haunt his present life. One of the rare times Winters appeared in public after retiring from public activities was in 2002, when he was invited to speak at the graduation ceremony of the West Point Military Academy. This is an important event where young officers prepare to enter the challenging military path. When standing on the podium, instead of talking about the battles, sacrifices, or glories of war, Winters only sent a simple but profound message: live a life so that when you are old, you can look back and be proud of what you have done. That saying is not only a piece of advice for the new generation of officers, but also reflects Winters's philosophy of life. Live a life worth living so that when you look back, you have nothing to regret. After the event at West Point, Winters almost completely disappeared from the public eye. He refused all other invitations, did not appear at any honor ceremonies, nor did he participate in war documentary programs. In his final years, he lived a simple life with his wife on a farm in Hershey, Pennsylvania, away from all media attention. Every morning, he woke up early to walk around the farm, enjoying the fresh air of the countryside. He still wrote letters to a few close friends, but the content only revolved around daily life, thoughts about family, and the simple things he cherished. He spent a lot of time reading books, especially books on history and philosophy, because Winters always believed that a soldier, not it, only needed to be strong on the battlefield, but also had to understand the meaning of what he did. But that's not all. Let's look at the facts. Age and health. In 2006, Richard Dick Winters was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a slowly progressive neurological disease that affects mobility, overall health, and quality of life. It was a shock for a man accustomed to an active life, a commander who had led his men through the fiercest battles of World War II. However, as he had lived his entire life, Winters accepted the disease with calm and humility. After receiving the diagnosis, Winters largely disappeared from public view. He decided to spend his final years in peace at his family's farm in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Winters spent much of his time reading, walking around the garden, and contemplating life. He always cherished the precious moments with his family, wife, and loved ones. Although the disease reduced his mobility and gradually deprived him of many of his daily activities, Winters maintained his soldierly spirit, perseverance, and discipline. Those close to Winters commented that he never complained or showed any signs of fatigue due to the disease. He simply accepted it, just as he had accepted all the challenges in his life. When veterans of Easy Company visited, he could still smile and tell them old memories, although his voice had become noticeably weaker. On January 2, 2011, Winters passed away at the age of 92. He passed away quietly and simply, without crowds or grand events. Only his family and loved ones were by his side in his final moments. Although Winters was no longer directly involved in Band of Brothers activities, his spirit lives on in the film. In a final letter to his fans, he wrote, "When I was young, I tried my best to be a good leader. Now, I just hope to be a good husband, a good father, a good grandfather to my family." These words not only show his humility, but also show that the most important thing for him in his final years was not fame, but love and peace. Although he no longer appears in the public eye, the image of Dick Winters will always live on in the hearts of his admirers. He was not only a good soldier and an excellent leader, but also a man of noble character, living his whole life according to the values he believed in. And now, do you think Dick Winters' decision to step back from the spotlight reflects who he is and what he believes in? If it were you, would you choose to continue sharing your story or live a simple life like Winters? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We would love to hear from you. Oh, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting updates. Thank you and see you in the next videos.